Welcome everyone to the fifth race of the season for the Advanced Mazda MX-5 Cup Series presented by Heusinkveld on the iRacing service. The top split and the first time slot of the week brings us this week to Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, a well-renowned circuit recently added to iRacing in the previous build at the start of the season, and now we are here for this afternoon's race. So let's bring you the starting grid for the race. And starting off on the front row, it's going to be Michael Folds in first place. Second place, 2 tenths behind, just about, is Ishmael Ublal. And then third place holds Nicholas Shepard. Fourth place is going to be Olivier Heinricho. James Newell rounds out the top 5 with P6. Charles Wolf on the outside. Next row holds Matt Mullins in P7. Wesley DeCruz next to him starts off in 8th place. 9th place is Eugenio Polici. And then 10th is going to be Michael Coates. Tony Wallace qualified 11th. To his outside, it's going to be Andrew Brown. And Reynolds starts off in 13th with 14th place, holding Tom Sanders. 15th place has Kevin Kramer. 16th place is Lachlan McLean. Travis Stewart starts off in the 17th place position. And then 18th place is going to be Kyle J. Genske, with the last row holding Gregorio Moreno Jr. and Matthew Bartlett. That is your starting grid for this week. 20 cars this week. A strength of field of nearly 4,000. I think it was 3.8K is the strength of field coming into this. The grid is about to finish forming up here, as we're going to have all eyes on the starting gantry. At least all the drivers will. And then just one more driver left to grid, and in fact, we are all gridded. 19 cars will be starting this race. The revs rise as they look up to the lights.
Green.
And it is green flag racing here. It's going to be a long stretch all the way down to turn number 1. And already some drivers are going defensive as we have 30 minutes on the clock already counting down. And we'll see if everyone survives heading into turn number 1. It's going to be absolute chaos here. You see how spread out and how defensive some drivers are already. From up above, on the outside, it's going to be 2x2 into the first corner here. And everyone just makes it through. Folds in the middle of the lane, or the road, I should say. He makes it through. Looks to be everyone does make it through. Turns 1 and 2, A-OK. And now we head down towards the next chicane here. Hard on the brakes, these drivers will be going. Single filed out for now. And so far, relatively calm start, actually. So the one driver that did not start this race, but still qualified, not Kyle Genske. I'll have to double check, but somebody did miss the grid in terms of who was originally scheduled. That was Matthew Bartlett, who had missed this race. Not sure if he had any connection issues or if he just did not make the split. He did make the split, but he did not get in time. But regardless, we are racing here and heading down into the stadium section with maybe it's just my eyes, but I swear it's a little bit overcast here. Regardless, into the stadium section we go. The ever so famous stadium section has all 3 drivers, actually. The entire top 3 had cut the first corner. We saw it from up above. Sorry, not the first corner, but one of the chicanes. I think they'll be okay. Not having the service slow down necessarily, but just getting a off-track incident there. And reviewing the rules, it looks like, yeah, for that one section, that's just going to be just a track limit penalty. In fact, I don't think there's any penalties there for that stadium section necessarily. I'll see everyone what everyone does here on the next lap. Regardless, a little bit loose under braking is Nicholas Shepard. Just holds on to it. But coming into this race, it is 2 wins from Nicholas Shepard on the first 2 races of the season. Then it was Michael Fold, who won 2 weeks ago. And then last week, it was Shepard back on top once again. Shepard missed 1 race of the season so far. He is no stranger to being on the podium. Defending series champion of 2024 season 3. Looking to go back-to-back for the last half of the season. Some positions changing there in the background. That's Wesley DeCruz and Aaron Brown. DeCruz we've seen every once in a while here in the top split, but Brown we have not seen too often as he'll go around the outside, swings that car well around the outside as DeCruz is just off-put. No momentum for him in that number 16 machine. They'll try and hold on to it. It's just behind him. Look at that. Making his way through is Tom Sanders. Tony Wallace not going to give up the position, though, too easily. Sanders in the 5, Wallace in the 14. That's going to be 3 wide if Reynolds does decide to go for it. And he is going to go for it. He thinks he's got the braking. His nose is there, but he's not quite fully alongside as Wallace nearly gets turned. These two are still side by side. So they make their way through the stadium section here. Sanders makes his way through single file. Through they'll go once again down the long straightaway. This track is 75,000 feet above. No, wait, hold on. Sorry, let me go back real quick. 7,500 feet above sea level. It was 75,000 feet. We'd probably be able to see it from everywhere. As Lachlan McLean has a penalty. Was it for a slowdown, perhaps? That is my first immediate thought. Let's see if we can run this back and see what happened with McLean, because he just suddenly got a black flag. We're not sure what it's for, but he does have a penalty of some sort. Was it for running too wide here on the last corner? Doesn't look to be the case. Not sure what happened there. I think it's a slowdown penalty that I got at some point, and they slowed down way too late. Back with live pictures. It's Andrew Brown ahead of Eugenio Polici and Michael Coates, P8. There's this little group. Then that's Aaron Brown, that's Eugenio Polici, that's Wesley DeCruz. Then Tom Sanders, Aaron Reynolds leading this battle, leading this group, I should say, of around P11. Let me double check the forecast that was going to be for the schedule, because I do not remember. It is quite overcast. I don't recall any chance of rain for at least this week. And that theory is correct. So the only next chance we have of rain, it's just overcast. The next chance we have of rain is at the Charlotte Roval. 18% chance. Well, Aaron Reynolds, Tom Sanders battling now for P12 on the racetrack. Sanders makes his way through. Oh, there goes Reynolds off from the sim. A little bit of a connection blip. We're not sure if we're going to suffer a connection blip ourselves, I should say. Planned maintenance, apparently, but I don't think it would be right now. So if the stream does suddenly cut off with 0 warning, then our internet went out. So we'll bring it as much as we can as Lachlan goes to pit road and hope that the maintenance does not occur in the next checks notes. 23.5 minutes. Going defensive is Tom Sanders. Reynolds going to try and hang it around the outside. Nearly makes contact, actually. Wallace is going to try and stick the nose to the inside. Reynolds pops out of existence, pops right back in, almost quite literally in front of Wallace, who has to slow up a huge amount. In fact, I think he may have gotten a slowdown penalty. Out of that, he was caught very off guard. Which, either way, I don't blame him. Sanders is absolutely setting sail. No, Reynolds into the wall after making contact, getting contact from behind. That was Travis Ewart, I believe. I think that was, yeah, Travis Ewart that had made contact. No idea what happened there. Let's go ahead and run this back. What happened to Reynolds there? Oh, you know what? I think, well, I'm not sure here. Well, Reynolds is now in pit road. Let's ride on board and just listen. I think it was just a matter of Reynolds braking way sooner than anticipated. And Reynolds, with the damage, currently now sits with a meatball flag in pit road. And there goes the field through, putting Reynolds 1 lap down. So we've got Folds, Shepard, Ublal, James Newell, and Olivier Heinricho all in your top 5. They all started in the top 5, but they have been shuffled just a little bit. Skensky has a little bit of a connection blip. Manages to come back with no problem. Tony Wallace, Travis Ewart could be battling here going into turn 1. Wallace looks to the outside, or driver's right-hand side. They'll have their drag race down to turn 1 for 17th. Yeah, Gensky's having a connection issue of his own as well. In fact, this one's a little bit more firm than the last one. There he is. Hopefully for his sake, it's able to stabilize a little bit. Oh, just up ahead. Hold on a second. Just up ahead. There's contact made. That is DeCruz, Sanders, Polici, actually. Coates is off. He stopped in the chicane for some reason. He was all on his own. No idea what happened here. We had just missed whatever happened here in the braking zone. What did happen here in the braking zone? Was it just a massive... Coates was involved with this too. Oh my goodness. What happened? I'm going to run this back one more time. That started with the 8 of Polici. Let's run Polici and Coates. I think it was just braking again. We're going to run this back one more time. We'll ride on board with Coates. And then Polici's just sitting back here as well. But let's stick with Coates for now. Yeah, I think it's just an accordion effect of braking. Some drivers braking way earlier than anticipated, so it's not the first time we've seen that. Coates had came to a complete stop to the point where, not sure if he had a hardware failure. He has not towed. In fact, I don't know if he's still... We'll cut back to the live pictures, and yeah, he's just still sitting there. Not sure as to why. The engine is still running, but not sure what's happening with Coates, but he has stopped off track. But yeah, no idea what happened there with Coates. He's been having always the worst luck. He's performed pretty well, usually existing around the bottom half of the top 5, sometimes existing in the top 5 as well, times like at Sonoma, but suddenly he's run into some strange issues, and then at this point it's come to a full stop as Coates is effectively out of this race. Look at James Newell, by the way. As I'm talking about this, Newell sneaking his way up through into the podium positions. Could be the first time that we've seen a challenge for the podium spots. That is in... Oh, man. Well, they're fighting over track space, that's for sure. Ublal not giving up that space. Hip and shoulder to Newell. Newell's just going to focus on staying on track on the racing line, and look at that. He makes his way up to P3 with that. And Olivier not too far behind. Now, this is the first time that we've seen a little bit of a shuffle from the norm of Folds, Shepard, and Ublal in the top 3. Usually we've seen those 3 finishing in the top 3, if not the top 5. And James Newell with that pass of both Heinricho and Ublal has currently set his sights on the 2 cars ahead of him. He's not too close to get a slipstream, though. The better bet is going to be for Ublal, who is within about 0.8 of a second. In fact, I'll switch over to your interval as well. I'll show you how close these drivers are with each other, as it will be side by side between Heinricho and Ublal. Heinricho with the slipstream of Newell. He's going to try and outbrake. Ublal tries to outbrake as well, but the preferred line will go to Heinricho. They'll still stay side by side through the chicane as well. Fighting back is Ublal. This brings in Charles Wolf to this battle. He's going to go to the back bumper of Ublal and bump draft down this short chute. Well, effectively speaking, in Grand Prix terms, this is the short chute. What would be a DRS zone, but these cars do not have any drag reduction systems. They just have the cars. Quite literally taking stock, putting the safety, taking like right from the factories, throw some FIA safety grade stuff in there, and next thing you know, you have a stock MX-5 on a racetrack. Tires into the grass a little bit for Olivier as, oh, wait a minute, there's Coates again. Well, he has moved. He has just appeared over here. Not entirely sure. He had moved at some point a while ago. I want to see a little bit here. I'm going to keep flashing up the replay here. Coates had parked up over here. Seems very hesitant. And then he ends up parking off over onto the side here. He is rolling again, actually. Yeah, not sure what's happening with Coates, unfortunately. He's had the misfortune of running into some strange issues that we still need to figure out, actually. But Coates is parked up once again. Probably trying to figure something out with the hardware. That's my only assumption, is that there's something not clicking with the hardware for Coates. Having it be just after that contact is a bit strange, but sometimes that could be the case for very strong force feedback, as Genski pops out of existence once again. His connection's not stabilized fully. They'll still try and challenge Travis Ewart here for P15 down to turn 1. In fact, it looks like Kyle Genski is just going to stick behind and not try and challenge. I think he knows. He's got, yeah, some sort of issues going on. Meanwhile, up front, between Foles and Shepard once again. Battle for the third place position might go back down to Newell and Ublal here. And last week, Foles had a chance to win at the full course of Road America, not the short layout this time. Last week it was the full layout. There's Coates once again. But Folds had a chance at winning, then invert contact had him spin out of the top 3. He still finished 4th after that contact, but could have been a win on the cards for that number 1. And Shepard flings the MX-5 over the curb here, as do the other drivers behind. So Folds has got a win over Shepard, but not necessarily on merit, because the win that Folds got 2 weeks ago, well, Shepard just wasn't able to make the race. So this week, last week we saw it could have been on merit, it could have happened, but inverting contact between the two had spoiled the attempt at 2 for 2 that Folds is going to have, potentially at least. Ublal was also in that battle, and now he's once again in the battle for 6th place. Just behind them, Charles Wolfe is going to go behind to the outside lane, try and swing it around the left-hand side. In fact, I think he's going to try for a switchback, but just not enough momentum here between the MX-5s here in order for that to be successfully pulled off. So we'll stay single file. Matt Mullins in P13. Next closest battle on the racetrack is between Tom Sanders and Eugenio Polici. And that is for the 10th place position, but Polici does have a little bit of damage on that MX-5. A little bit of a different livery this time, and that damage is definitely not hindering him, because Polici got a significantly better run there out of that chicane. So some close battles throughout the field here. I'll try our best to keep an eye on as Folds and Shepard remain P1, P2 for now, and just behind them, Newell is going to have a challenge on his hands in the form of Ishmael Ublal. Does Newell decide to go defensive, or does he just stay in line? He'll stay in the racing line, no move from Ublal here. Into the stadium section they go. And out of the stadium section they go. They remain in P3, P4. Swinging wide a little bit was Heusinkveld. Not enough to hit the wall, not enough to scrape the wall, but just that about like eighth of a car width out of line. Now, is Heusinkveld? Yep, yeah, that answers that question. I was about to say, is he about to go for the pass instead of trying to push up and work together? Well, that answers that question. Heusinkveld wants to stick on the last step of the podium here. Does Newell go for it here in the braking zone? He does have the room to go for it. He does go for it. And just like that pass never even happened in the first place from Heusinkveld, Newell back up into third place. In a line of 3 cars, Heinricho, Wolf, Mullins potentially could battle for 5th place here. And that's almost contact between Sanders and Pellicci. In fact, Pellicci at some point, I think we did catch that pass actually though, just out of the chicane here where Pellicci had made his way into the top 10. And then for 13th place, or for 12th place, it's Moreno and Wallace. 10.5 minutes left to go. They'll stay line astern here. Out of the first DRS zone into the second chicane. And then the tricky double right-hander. Kind of a double apex in a sense. Trying to hit one and then not swing too wide to hit the other. And Shepard is going to go a little bit wide. I thought he was going to try and go for a move there on Folds, but decides against it. It has been a while since we've done an onboard, and we'll go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and ride on board for a lap around the New Mexico City circuit. On board, Nicholas Shepard. Just like that. That is a lap around the Mexico City circuit. 2 minutes, basically flat. Almost 2 minutes and 1 second, depending on where you are in the field. Speaking of depending on where you are in the field, James Newell, Ishmael Heusinkveld swap positions. Heusinkveld now P3, Newell P4. Might try and go on the offensive here. These two go side by side enough, they could bring those three in the back into this battle as well, and that might surely be the case because Newell is going to try and swing it around the inside to the outside, back in line. back to the left-hand side, right-hand side rather, and because he goes wide, because the ball goes wide, Newell is going to be, at the moment, back up into P3, but Ublal could still try and fight for this position here on the inside lane. Into the next chicane we go, but he is not quite there just yet. Nose to the bumper, almost upsets the car of Newell, and it does, and just like that, I don't know if contact was fully made, but these three have just been brought back into the battle halfway through the circuit. So now it's a 5-car battle for P3. Newell and Ublal have been battling for quite a while. And these lap times are ticking down, just lap by lap by lap. Sorry, the amount of laps are ticking down. The amount of opportunities to get by are ticking down lap after lap here. Ublal goes a little bit wider than Newell. Newell's going to stick right on the back bumper, though, here. Does he decide to fake out and move at the last second into the braking zone for the stadium section? Stays in line for now. Although just behind, I think Heinricho, nope, he had to look, I thought, but doesn't go fully for the move. A bit of contact, I think, a little bit of a stack up. At least from Newell to Ublal. Or from Ublal to Newell. Back on the front straight once again. And here is your top two, and then just 6 seconds behind, there they are, is your battle for P3. That's being led by Ishmael Ublal. Technically a separate battle for P5, being led by Charles Wolf. We'll see how things fare out just behind, especially into corner entry. Newell peeks out, decides against it. Same with Heinricho. He shoved the nose, but doesn't go for a committed move into turn 1. A little bit better through the chicane. You can see Ublal flashing the brake lights just a little bit, probably trying to say, hey, let's just work together. Going defensive, though, is Ublal. Does he have a slowdown penalty, perhaps? Is that why? He lets Newell go ahead. And if Ublal does have a slowdown penalty, he's trying to bleed out that time very tactically. This has officially brought in Charles Wolf, who puts the nose to the back of Ublal. I think that affected Charles more than it did Ishmael, but regardless, they all stay facing forward. I'll take a look here. Once these drivers come to the start-finish line, once the leaders come to the start-finish line, we'll see where we are at in terms of time. It should be a projected 2 laps to go. In fact, yeah, this time by it should be 1,000% 2 laps to go at the start-finish line. So how defensive does... Oh, wait a minute. For P3, I thought Ublal was just about to make a move for third. Decides against it. I got to stick with this battle for the time being. And it will be 2 laps to go this time around. So, second to last lap. We got a 5-car battle on our hands for the final step of the podium. And meanwhile, all the while, it's going to be Michael Folds using the slipstream of McLean to get out in front to maintain just that little bit of distance. Ublal and Newell side by side between themselves here as they'll make their way into the braking zone. Newell's going to have to get back on the racing line. Ublal not too much on the racing line. He's going to try and show the nose. He's going to try and force the issue. No. Through turn 3. And down the DRS zone once again. Charles Wolf all over the back bumper of Newell as we head into the braking zone for the second chicane. Look at this, all 5 cars within effectively, I think, just about a second of each other on the racetrack. Travis Ewart does have a meatball flag, and Travis Ewart is actually off the racetrack entirely. Did he incur too much damage? Oh, yeah. Well, that answers that question. Quick answer, yes, and it is the entire engine. Travis Ewart, unfortunately, going to DNF in this event. And they do commend him for trying to stick it out, trying to at least get something out of it, despite having damage, but the blown engine has soured any of his chances. Heinricho and Wolf battling side by side as we go into the stadium section. Wolf goes up to P5. Blau has snuck his way around Newell while we are looking at that replay. And this time by will be the final lap here in Mexico City. Just shy, about 8 seconds. But the white flag is out. You see it waving on the left-hand side of your screen. Folds leads. Does Shepard go for a move here into turn number 1? We're going to stick with this battle for now. Folds does go defensive. Will they be side by side from way too far back? They will be side by side. Who's going to be first on the brakes? It's practically both of them. I think Folds was just the first one on the brakes there. As we go into turn 1, turn 2, they're single file. Turn 3, who gets the better exit? Looks like it's going to be both. Meanwhile, for P5, it's side by side between Wolf and Heinricho. Heinricho going to swing it around, just around the outside. He had the preferred lane in turn 1. He will go through up to P5. For the lead, though, it is side by side again between Folds, between Shepard. Folds peeks out ahead once again. Can he put on a defensive drive? Can he put on 2 wins for the season? Can we have a second repeat winner for this season? I believe it happened last season, so we have a chance that could happen this season. Bouncing off the rev limiter as they go into the S's. And that challenge for P3 is relatively off the books unless something happens to Ublal here on the final laps. For now, it's the battle for the lead, as did Folds go off too much? Did he go off too much? Does he have a slowdown penalty? They're side by side. I don't think Folds has a slowdown penalty. They will stay side by side here. Into the stadium section we go. Fully defensive could be Folds here. And through the final chicane, and with a strong defensive drive, as we round the final corners, it will be this week on merit. Michael Folds will break the winning streak. Second repeat winner here in Mexico City goes to Michael Folds. As at the start-finish line for third place, it is Ishmael Blau. And the gap at the line, just under about a tenth of a second. It is a switch at the last second, actually. I think for P5. In fact, no, it's not. In the meantime, battles still continuing throughout the field here, as the 10th place position will be rounded out by Eugenio Polici. Sanders rounds out in 11th. Moreno and Wallace making their way through to finish 12th and 13th. What a event that was. Not as hectic as it was for Road Atlanta last week. I wonder if I called it Road America earlier by mistake. I probably did. I always know the tracks. I always get those two confused. But regardless, this time and this week on merit, now Folds can say that he is successfully challenged and beaten Nicholas Shepard, just coming to the line, as Folds has the closest winning margin, I think, of the entire season, actually, so far. I believe at not Las Vegas, I believe at Long Beach, the gap was about 0.12 tenths of a second here between Shepard and Ublal. This week, the closest margin so far, 0.085 seconds. Folds victorious here at Mexico City. Second repeat winner of the season. Shepard second. Third place, Ishmael Blau. Fourth place, James Newell. Can't count him out for putting up a wonderful fight against Ishmael Blau. And a fourth place, nothing to sneeze at either as well. Olivier Heinricho finishes in fifth after managing to hold off Charles Wolf and Matt Mullins respectively, who sit sixth and seventh. Eighth place, Andrew Brown. Ninth place, Wesley DeCruz. And 10th place, rounded out by Eugenio Polici. Quiet day for him, I would say, but in a good way for the Italian. as he started ninth, finished in the 10th place position. Not too bad on paper as we go to the next page of the last portion of the field where Tom Sanders and Tony Walsh finish 11th and 12th. Gregorio Marina Jr. finishes 13th, Kevin Kramer 14th. Top 15 rounded out by Kyle Genske after having some repeat connection issues, but manages to get to the end. Lachlan McLean, 1 lap down, finishes 16th. Travis Ewart 17th. 18th place, Aaron Reynolds, after having contact a little bit earlier on in the event, I believe with Travis Ewart as well. Michael Coates, a 19th place finish, and Matthew Bartlett finishes in 20th. He had not started this race, so bottom of the timing page for Matthew Bartlett to round out the 5th race of the season, and 20 cars on the field. Almost the, I think the strongest SOF we had so far this season. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule while we still have a chance, as we came into today with Long Beach and Rutskogen having Nicholas Shepard at the top step of the podium. Michael Foltz won at Sonoma, although Nicholas Shepard was not there that week. And then Nicholas Shepard, but with an Allen H, had won at Road Atlanta last week. He'll get his H back next week once I update that graphic. Whoops. This week it was Michael Foltz. We'll update the graphic as well. So 2 repeat winners on the season. And then next week we had, as you see, into the Donington Park GP layout. Something that I'm very much looking forward to. We're going to be doubling up with the I believe it is the MVP circuits later on for the next 2 weeks. So not only will it be Donington Park, but we'll also be following up with Alton Park just after that. But first, we have to get through Donington. And that is going to be next week on October 20th, same time as per usual, at least for the next 3 weeks, because at the beginning of November, give or take a day or two, are in the U.S., the times will be switching. So the times have been updated for the November broadcast as well. So go ahead and check out those pages for the November broadcast, and you'll see what that new time is in your time zone. It has been, at least for me, pushed back by 1 hour. It should be the same for everybody else, I believe. But next week we had to Donington, the GP layout. We'll have to see you across the pond next week here on the Racing Line Network. Thank you for tuning in to watch the MX-5 Advanced, we'll get there one day, Advanced Mazda MX-5 series presented by Heusinkveld on the iRacing service on the Racing Line Network. And we'll see you all next week for another 30-minute race for the halfway point of the season.